In the simply typed Lambda calculus, types bought us a guarantee. Every well-typed term terminates. But we paid for it dearly. No general recursion, no Turing completeness. We got something that no amount of testing could give us, though. If it type checks, it halts. But there's something strange about that system, and we kind of skipped past it. Look at the identity function. Lambda x.x has type alpha arrow alpha, but it also has type nat arrow nat, or bool arrow bool, or any other type you might want. Each one is a separate derivation, a separate proof, and a separate use of the abstraction rule, one per choice of alpha. The term doesn't change, it's the same three symbols, lambda x.x doing the same thing, but the type system won't let you say that out loud. Write a library function, and you need a copy for every type it might be called on. The limitation isn't in the program, it's in the language we used to describe it. The fix is to let the type itself say for any alpha. Write it with a universal quantifier. For all alpha, alpha arrow alpha. Now we have one type and it holds at every alpha at once. Nat, bool, list of strings, anything. That's polymorphism. One function that works at every type without a separate copy for each. If a term is polymorphic, it has to accept a type as input, so we add two new operations to the language. First, type abstraction, written with a capital lambda, says given a type alpha, here's a term that uses it. The polymorphic identity is capital lambda alpha dot lambda x of type alpha dot x. Read it as take a type and then take a value of that type and then return the value. Then type application plugs a specific type in. Write the polymorphic identity, then bracket nat. The result is lambda x of type nat dot x, the identity on natural numbers. Apply it to 0, get 0 back. The same term, specialize wherever you need it. The typing rules mirror this structure cleanly. Two new rules, one for each new operation. First, for all introduction. If E has type tau for any alpha, then capital lambda alpha dot E has type for all alpha tau. The quantifier captures the variable you just abstracted over. Then we have for all elimination. Another way to say it is specialization. A term of type for all alpha tau applied to a concrete type sigma produces tau with sigma in place of alpha. We have two new rules on types parallel to the two new rules for terms. The type level is starting to look like a little language of its own. Here's something important to catch. The polymorphic identity is capital lambda alpha dot lambda x of type alpha dot x. But when this runs, the capital lambda and the type annotation have nothing left to do. The type checker already used them. At runtime, they're just dead weight. So we can just erase them. What remains is lambda x.x, the untyped term we started with. Same three symbols. This is called type erasure, and it's why polymorphic languages compile the fast code. A Haskell program doesn't carry types at runtime. A polymorphic function compiles to one block of machine code. The type checker does its work up front, and the runtime has no types to inspect. In the first Lambda calculus video, we built the natural numbers from iterators. The church numeral for n applied a function n times. The simply typed Lambda calculus couldn't type these. A function from what to what? System F gives an answer, any type. Nat is, for all alpha, take a function from alpha to alpha, then take a start alpha and give back another alpha. A numeral iterates the function. The operations kind of just fall out. 0 hands back the start. Successor applies the function once more. Addition threads it through both numerals. Multiplication iterates one's iteration inside the other. Predecessor is the hard one. You can't peel a layer off an opaque iterator. The classical fix is Kleen's pairs trick. Walk a pair from 0 forward, sliding the right component into the left. Then discard the right. That construction needs polymorphism. You instantiate the pair type at nat. Exponentiation is another clever one. Untyped, it's just EB, the exponent applied to the base. With types, we type apply the base at alpha, type apply the exponent at alpha arrow alpha, and the iteration works out. From exponentiation on, one combinator bumps levels. Hype successor iterates any binary op on nat. Tetration is hype successor of exp. Pentation, hype successor of tet. And on up the tower. Each rung is a typed system F term, a single line of code. 3 tet 3 is already over 7 trillion. 3 pent 3 is a tower of 3's 7 trillion high. The simply typed calculus couldn't type any of this. F types all of it. When you erase the types, you're back to the untyped term. Booleans work the same way. A Boolean picks one of its two options, so its type is for all alpha, alpha arrow alpha arrow alpha. True picks the first, false the second. A pair of A and B has type for all alpha. Give me a function that consumes an A and a B and returns alpha, and I'll give you that alpha back. You build a pair by saying how to use it. Sums work the same way. Lists follow the same pattern. A list of A is, hand me a way to combine an A with a partial result and a starting result, and I'll fold them in. Empty echoes 0. It just hands the starting result back. Cons echoes successor. It folds the head into whatever you've built so far. Every church-encoded list is a fold waiting to happen. Even existential types, data whose representation is hidden, fall out of a dual trick with for all. An existential packages a value with its type. To use it, you supply a function that works for every possible hidden type. The existential feeds in whichever it was keeping secret. Every standard data structure comes out from one quantifier. No new constructs, no inductive definitions. And the types themselves count. Exactly 2 closed normal terms of type bool, true and false. One for every natural number at type nat. The encoding isn't clever, the quantifier is somehow doing the counting. Which raises a question. We just counted, bool has 2 inhabitants, nat has infinitely many. How many closed terms of type for all alpha, alpha arrow alpha? The answer is 1, the identity. Think about what such a term has to do. It receives the type alpha, which it cannot inspect because types are not values. Then it receives a value of that type alpha, which it cannot inspect either because it has no operations on an arbitrary type. The only value of type alpha it can return is the one it was given. This is parametricity. John Reynolds proved it in 1983. Philip Wadler called the resulting technique theorems for free. You read off facts about a function just by looking at its type. A function of type for all alpha, list of alpha arrow list of alpha, can only reorder, duplicate, or drop elements of its input. It cannot invent new ones because it has no way to produce an alpha. A function of type for all alpha beta, alpha arrow beta arrow alpha, must return its first argument. The type alone forces the behavior. The simply typed Lambda calculus could never tell you things like this. In STLC, a type was a contract on inputs. In System F, it's a contract on behavior as well. And the encodings from a few minutes ago weren't workalikes. Parametricity says a church numeral is extensionally indistinguishable from the natural number it stands for. A church list behaves exactly like an inductive list. System F doesn't need a separate construct for inductive types. Impredicative polymorphism plus parametricity gives you them for free. Before we go, there's one other angle on what we've built. System F is also a logic. The arrow is implication. The universal quantifier is the universal quantifier. A term of type A arrow A is a proof that A implies B. A term of type for all alpha, alpha arrow alpha, is a proof that for every proposition alpha, alpha implies itself. The identity term is exactly that proof. This is the Curry-Howard correspondence in action. Now for second-order intuitionistic logic. Types are propositions. Terms are proofs. Beta reduction is cut elimination, removing detours from a proof. Remember the count from parametricity. For all alpha, alpha arrow alpha has 1 inhabitant, the identity. Through Curry-Howard, that's 1 proof. Now ask a different question. What has no inhabitants? For all alpha, alpha. You can't fabricate a value of an arbitrary type, so the type is uninhabited. That's false, the proposition with no proof. Explosion still works. If someone hands you a term of type for all alpha alpha, type apply it at any type you would like, and out comes a term of that type. False implies everything. What you can't do is prove P or not P for an arbitrary P. System F is intuitionistic. To prove something, you have to build it. There's no excluded middle, no pulling P out of not P. Girard didn't build systemf to write programs. He built it to prove things about second-order arithmetic. Systemf is more expressive than STLC, but does it still terminate? Girard proved it does in a 1971 paper and his 1972 thesis. Every well-typed term of systemf reduces to a normal form. Same guarantee as before, and given Curry-Howard, it's also the statement that every proof in second-order logic has a normal form. The proof is a little harder than Tate's for STLC. The difficulty is impredicativity. For all alpha ranges over all types, including types that themselves contain for all alpha. The naive induction on types doesn't quite work. What you're defining appears in its own definition. Push impredicativity one step further and it breaks. Girard also showed that if types themselves are values, a type of all types, the system encodes Russell's paradox, and you can prove false. Systemf stays on the safe side of that line by keeping types out of terms. Clock and Lean want more power and pay for it with a universe hierarchy. Type 0 lives in type 1, lives in type 2, so nothing contains itself. His fix for systemf was reducibility candidates, sets of terms chosen to satisfy a closure property, used as a stand-in for the missing induction. The upshot was the same as before. If it type checks, it halts. Systemf can type far more than STLC. The Ackermann function, which grows faster than any primitive recursive function, has a systemf type. You can encode any function whose totality is provable in second-order arithmetic. Concretely, if you can prove your function halts using reasoning that quantifies over all sets of natural numbers, you can type it in systemf. Ackermann function fits, but not every total function does. Line up f's typed programs from nat to nat, and apply each to its own index, like add 1 or something. That's a total function that no f program computes. It's based on a diagonal argument. Those live in stronger systems. So it's still not Turing complete. Every well-typed term still halts. The trade-off from the STLC video, power for safety, didn't quite go away. Systemf just pushed the boundary without fully erasing it. Henk Barendregt organized all of this into a map. Start with the simply typed lambda calculus. Terms depend on terms. That's what a function is. Now ask what other dependencies you could allow. A term depending on a type gives you systemf, what we just built. A type depending on a type gives you systemf omega, functions at the type level. A type depending on a term gives you dependent types, where the number 3 can show up inside of a type. 3 axes, so we have 8 corners of the cube. STLC sits at one corner with nothing turned on. The calculus of constructions, the ancestor of Rock Q and Lean's type theories, sits at the opposite corner, everything turned on. Systemf is one corner over, just one step into a larger space. You've been programming in systemf without calling it that. Haskell's for all A, Rust's angle bracket T, Java generics, they all trace back here. They compile differently though. Haskell and ML erase types. One block of machine code runs at every instantiation, the systemf story from earlier. Rust monomorphizes. It generates a specialized copy per type you call the function on. Same source level polymorphism, but 2 compilation strategies. There's one catch. Type inference for full systemf is undecidable. Joe Wells proved it in 1994. If you don't write any type annotations, the compiler has no general procedure for figuring out where the quantifiers go. Real languages cope by restricting the fragment. ML only allows quantifiers at the outside of a type. No quantifier under an arrow. That restriction, called rank 1 polymorphism, has a decidable inference algorithm, Hindley and Milner's. You write no annotations, and the compiler just fills them in. Haskell pushes further and asks for annotations where inference can't keep up. Every statically typed language you've used is picking a point on the spectrum between what systemf can express and what a compiler can infer without your help. The simply typed lambda calculus asks you to pick a type and stick with it. Systemf lets the type itself say for any. One quantifier over types, and the language finally hits the programs you were already trying to write. From here, the type level only grows. More quantifiers, computations on types, types that mention values. We're just one axis into a much bigger space.